Welcome to the Archotechs, a RimWorld fluid ideology series about pursuing the Archonexus. Episode 49, Proper Defenses. To briefly recap last episode, we finally incorporated the geothermal generators into the colony. After having burned wood-fired generators for so long. We'd also queued up some air conditioning, but don't have the steel to build that quite yet. And I did mention wanting to build a kill box with turrets, and that didn't get done either. So these things are things that I'm going to work on this episode. We also have the Dusty Compound, which is a very short walk away, and I'll probably hit that up at some point this episode as well, if all goes well. We had some beggars that asked for an incredible amount of silver, so here they are donating their organs for reasons that Droiden needed one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to queue up some uranium turrets. So our uranium and steel is stored here, so I'm going to put the uranium turrets here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know they're not plugged in. I'm just building them here, and then I'll be moving them to the proper kill box area. So, speaking of that kill box area, let's reassess. We're going to go, let's say, 14 in, and 14, meaning that this is the west wall. And then as far as depth goes, if you take a look at an heavy SMG, its maximum range is about 23. So, I would like to have this go, maybe not a full 23, maybe like 19 in. So, unlike last time, what I think I'm going to do is to have my shooting area here. Is this still 14? Yeah. My shooting area around here. And then the kill box area in this spot here, lining these sides with turrets. Like this. So we have the ports for turrets. And then the maze that we have, let's go 11 and 11. The maze is not going to use this area either, leaving more areas for turrets back here. Maybe one more. So that there's a lot of, there we go, a lot of potential gunfire. Alright, that's a little stranger. I think what I could do is maybe queue up autocannons in this spot. So we'll leave space for the autocannons. So now that we have sort of a layout design, I'll nudge the autocannons over so they don't have a line of sight issue. So mini turret, autocannon, autocannons. And this here is the maze. So we'll have two different ways for our people to trickle in. Got it. So that means that we want to start to build the walls. And there we go. I like that design well enough. And here is some of the initial mini turrets that we're going to be using. Trustin is getting them together. And then Trustin's going to go back to trying to get a sniper rifle for us, because that is also going to be pretty necessary. Now, as far as research, we're currently working on recon armor, so that we can replace damaged armor that is going to be phased out. But I'm actually going to pivot quickly and go to packaged survival meals. Because we have a lot of vegetables and a source of meat, and it would be good if we started to process the meat and the vegetables for packaged survival meals, which do fetch a pretty high price. Now, because I'm using a considerable amount of granite, it would be good if I got the granite queue back and going so that we start processing the granite chunks. And that will allow us to have more of the wall constructed. Because I'm sure I'll run out of material here. Yeah, I already don't have enough stored. Unsurprising. So one thing I could do is I could have No Luck pivot from art, now that we have an extremely impressive dining room, over to cutting granite blocks again. And let me reduce the high priority hauling to get the slaves back to do other work. So it appears to me like Bunny needs more mining queued up. So here we go. Get some mining done up there. Now, once I have the kill box set up, it might be wise to have the bait beacon just beyond it to encourage whoever pods to the bait beacon to come exactly where I want them to. And we've got a little ambrosia. It's been hard for me to keep the ambrosia from burning up. We've had a lot of fires on this map tile. But maybe, just maybe, this one will make it. Ambrosia 1. Alright, No Luck. This next piece of art will be the last one you make for a bit. Not sure exactly where I want to make it. Oh, maybe over here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have it be beautiful around where we eat. I mentioned that previously. Alright, Bunny, before you walk off here, there's more mining to be done. Oh, I don't even have a single granite stone. We have converted Fergie to our own ideology. And then enslave. And Marky is going to be treated the same. Trustin has just made a legendary sniper rifle. This is the Night Rhino. This weapon bears the portrayal of an engineer rendered in silhouette surrounded by eels. Okay. And we're apparently compassionate to terrorists. Even stranger. Very, very strange. So now, No Luck should be, once not playing the piano, back to cutting granite blocks. And then the other thing I'm going to want is to remove all the plant life here so it does not offer cover. So what I might need to do is to have some pillars in here. Or rather, steel where we can't put roofs up. I don't exactly want Trustin cutting trees, though. He is not very good at it. So hopefully one of the slaves will get up there. We got our run of Tinctoria. So instead of resowing the Tinctoria, I'm gonna... what do I need? My tea is rather low. So let's plant Psychoid. Pack of survival mills are done. I'm gonna plant Psychoid here as well. And then hops. So with that done, we'll go back to recon armor. No Luck's already lacking a helmet. And Marky has converted. The outside temperature is pretty temperate, so I'm going to start to build these air conditioners here. If it was particularly hot, it would be a bad time to build the air conditioners because... Here, I'm going to have you ignore the roof over here until the slaves have cut the things they need to cut. So if it was like 100 degrees out, it would destroy any beer that we had brewing, which currently is none, and then it caused some other issues. So it's good to wait to install air conditioning for when it's not so extreme. Both prisoners have now had their wheels broken, so they'll be joining us shortly. And then once we're done sowing the hops field, we ought to be cutting all of the remaining plants that are in here, making it much easier for Trustin to get it roofed up, and then for us to put down steel where we need it. So Fergie has been enslaved. These slaves here are not going to be kept very long, so I don't really care about much of anything. Their priorities or anything like that doesn't really matter to me, because they're going to be sacrificed and forced to fight one another. So they are just going to be a hauler and a cleaner for now. And you are going to lose your name. You're not sticking around long enough to even deserve to be raffled off. Yeah, here we go. The slaves are finally getting this processed. And Marky has followed suit. So slave clothing, let's move you to the end. Slave 2. And the slave zones. And your work priorities are going to be pretty much the same. Again, because they don't really have skills, I'll put them on stone cutting. They don't really have skills that I particularly care for. So, hair is gone. Beard is gone. No tattoos, and set ideal color. I believe we're also lacking some clothing here. Yeah, we're lacking a slave collar for him. Trust me, we'll get that going in just a second. Now, with the 2 additional slaves, that does mean that there will be more participants for the scarification, which is good. 10 is the sweet spot. And I don't have any components. So for me to finish the air conditioning, I'm going to need to make some, because currently it is 103 in the base. And that's a little uncomfortable. Wow. The geothermal generators and these turrets really ate up all of my components much faster than I had realized. There we go. Now we have air conditioning back on. And I'll obviously not install the rest of the air conditioners until I have an abundance of the components. I don't believe there's really any components left to be mined out here. Bunny had already previously mined up a considerable amount of them, which means it's all up to Trustin to smith them. I'm looking around and I don't really see any components. There would be some components broken down from the cryptosleep caskets, but I'm not taking them on just yet. So a stash of goodies for specialized limbs. Okay. Interesting, but probably not something I go and bother to do. So tomorrow, I'm planning on trying to dye everybody's clothing the appropriate color. And then also to... do the scarification for Bunny. I don't really care about the scarification for the other two. Just realized that I have slaves laying on the ground, so... There we go. Now they have beds. And these slaves, stone cutting the granite, definitely helping. So even if they don't really have any skills, their dumb labor works for me. So in here, we want separators. These separators are going to prevent the turrets from chain exploding upon one another. And probably the last separator down here is not needed. And then another thing that we're going to want is granite doors so that we can close off certain sides, and then barricades, and then the rest of the maze. Probably littered with barricades and then straw grass so that we can set things on fire. So I am going to set up a bit of a farm for hay. Straw flooring is extraordinarily flammable, so using it as a way to deter raiders is going to be very effective. So I'm going to start to get the mini turrets that I've manufactured for the purpose of defense installed where they belong, realizing that, of course, they don't currently have power. And then the power is going to be run in the walls, so as to mitigate some of the risk of raiders destroying it, and then I'll have redundant power. So there is a lack of redundancy here, which I'll fix. Yes, running a cable across an open field. So we'll get all this set up, and that will give us some sort of protection from non-breachers and non-sappers. For breachers and sappers, we're still reliant upon psycasting and arc guns. Speaking of guns, it might be a wise idea for Sven to don a gun rather than an Eltech staff. But I haven't yet queued up the gas op weapons for him yet. I think I want the sniper rifles first. And that's another thing, that's another reason why my components are disappearing, is because sniper rifles require a lot of components as well. So I'm going to have no luck start to work on construction rather than stone cutting, changing her priority to construct over craft, and then the slaves that I have will be the stone cutters, trying to get this up and running. A bulk goods trader coming in. Nice. I do have a lot of rice and corn, so that will be good. Once Slave 2 heals up all the way, I would like to have them have some sort of gladiatorial fight. Now, the one issue with a gladiatorial fight is if you want them to fight to the death, it's ideal to use something like Go Juice to encourage them to fight to the death, and I don't currently have Go Juice. So I think what I will also do is to try to buy Nuturamine from bulk goods or exotic goods or something like that, so that I can encourage them to kill off one another. So maybe buying Nuturamine or Go Juice is in order. The animals that I have not yet named are going to get sold, because I'm getting a little overwhelmed with the amount of pets that I'm taking on. So here's Nuturamine. I'd also like to buy components, just because we have need of a bunch of components, and that cuts out a lot of the middleman. Some of the awful clothing that I have yet to part with. Some old wooden beds. Even the masterwork beds I'll sell. And let's sell rice. And some corn to pay for everything. So that looks good. Oh, you know what? I have some packaged survival meals I want to part with. I do plan on eventually having packaged survival meals be one of the methods to which I make money. So there we go. Sven had an inspired trade. So that's one of the reasons why I got so much for my money. And now that I have Naturamine, I am going to stop researching recon armor so that I can research drug production and then go juice production. Meaning that I am going to need more psychoid in order to satisfy. Actually, I have 2 fields of psychoid. It should be okay. And that will allow me to make go juice. So the reason go juice works for the gladiator fights is they won't collapse as easy, because go juice sort of amps you up so that you fight until you're dead, more or less. And if you have someone die during a gladiator fight, a gladiator duel, it increases the result of that event. So we have another sniper rifle. So we're sporting 3 of them. We're going for 5, I believe. Yep. The excellent one I would like to sell at some point and just use Masterwork or Legendaries. But I guess for now, it's fine. Alright. What's a little bit long overdue is the scarification ritual. So I'm going to trigger that now before I forget yet again. Knowing that Slave 2 is sitting this one out because Slave 2 had a bit of a dazed mental break. Organ being harvested, of course, is the issue. One thing I could do is use Bunny, who could rather counsel Slave 2 to sort of remove that penalty. That could be done. So, a left arm scarification. Okie dokie. It was unfortunately boring. Oh well. At least her needs are met. So she traded a -1 for not scarified for a -1 for a boring scarification. But at least the boring scarification will decay over time. So with these turrets here, I want to install a single network of dead power to turn them off. Like that. Now, because I don't have any batteries in the colony, having the turrets stay on doesn't matter so much. But the thing is, like things that require components will break down when powered on, but they do not break down when powered off. So, for instance, leaving these turrets on, they might have a breakdown where they require another component to repair. So even if power isn't an issue, sometimes keeping them off is still the smart play, because keeping them on all the times means that you might be wasting extra components. It's actually one of the reasons why you'll very rarely see me use auto doors, because auto doors break down sort of, in my opinion, constantly, and I'm very annoyed by it. So if you have a colony full of auto doors, you will need a steady supply of components continually in order to make sure that you have the components to repair said auto doors. In my opinion, it's just annoying, so I usually leave them out. So drug production is done, and we're going to go to go juice production to try to get these slaves to obliterate one another. And now we're up to 4 out of the 5 sniper rifles. And this here is looking partially done, I suppose. Wouldn't be a terrible idea to double wall either, once I have the granite and the maze built. Now, the first iteration of the maze, I could use wood floors. There. That looks good. The reason I could use wood floors is, yeah, wood is abundant, and there's plenty of it. So there will be the 2 different entryway mazes. And yet another masterwork. Perfect. Which means that I ought to cut plants. All these plants. They grow back so quickly. Now Trustin is getting our component queue back up to 30. And next step is to either add more turrets if I have these still in uranium, or add more coolers so that we're not relying upon feeding the passive coolers wood all the time. And No Luck is very slowly setting up dead power. All right, looking pretty good. So then these doors here, probably ought to open quickly. The other thing, I am going to be moving the horse area eventually. Now, let me actually move that down one more. But for now, I'm just going to temporarily move the pen just a tad to keep the horses from going through open and forced open doors. I would like another sniper rifle and a heavy SMG. Slave 2 is no longer in a psychotic state, so Bunny, you are going to try to counsel Slave 2, removing that I've lost my organ, and it worked. So if we take a look here, 17, it was only for 17 more hours. Well, we'll have for 17 hours a plus 30 as well. So with the drug production bench, the drug lab. Let's get a drug lab made. Oh, is this? Yeah, no, this tailor bench is getting both. Okay. The smithy is not, but a single tool bench for a smithy, which I use almost never, is fine. I am feeling a little weird that I haven't had any attacks in a while. Kind of would have expected it by now. I guess I've had Manhunter packs. They count as raids. They count as like a threat event. But if we take a look at historically, it really has thinned out a bit, but I'm, as you can see, kind of overdue for one. Gonna hit Trustin with the work drive. Bada bing, bada boom. I like this design. It might not be perfect. I didn't really min-max it or measure it or any jazz like that. But I don't know, it works for me. And now we have a smaller pen. I believe this pen is still going to allow for the grazing. Yeah, it's fine. It allows for all of the animals to graze comfortably. Another thing that I might want to do, and it's going to cause a lot of filth, but, you know, it's not my... I don't care. It's not mine to clean up. Is the... putting steel here so that we can move around a lot faster to get to the kill box. So there is the last sniper rifle. So a legendary and 5 masterworks plus an excellent as backup. That's great. So this is the center point. So here, I will do wood doors for my colonists to shoot out of. Spacing them out a little bit. And then probably leaving the middle wood door open to offer a valid path for raiders to attack me. Which means that I ought to move my pasture away from where raiders come in probably using some of this area down here or something. I'll have to figure out exactly where is ideal, but that's a lower priority. At this point, I would say we have a good amount of granite blocks, so I'm going to go back to cutting anything. Really, any block that they want to cut is fine. Whatever's closest, because we'll start to turn those blocks into art. So Go Juice is done. We'll go back to Recon Armor, which has been delayed a bit. So in order to make Go Juice, I need yayo and trimine. So then I'm also actually going to need to research how to make yayo, psychite refining. So sorry, Recon Armor, you wait yet another day. And the heavy SMG we made is not good enough for my liking, so I will try again. I didn't get the notification that it was masterwork or anything like that. There we go. Now replacing all of the components we used. And then we ought to get some slave clothing too, because Slave 2 hasn't had a slave collar in a while. So there's a suppression fall rate, although he is very suppressed. And now the maze is getting done. So this maze actually won't be laid out like this. I think what I'll do is I'll let me remove some of the floor. I'm only going to put floor in where there is not barricade. Well, no, I guess it's fine to keep the floor in. I'm just a little worried about how much fire it produces and how hard it will be for me to put out. Hey, a Gauss Sprout right in the middle of my kill box. Get out of there. And this Molotov cocktail. Why is this here? This should be textiles, right? Because there is... Oh, it doesn't count as a weapon. Neat. So, Bunny, instead of smelting slag, let's smelt weapons. So the weapons that we want to smelt are the sort of Neolithic weapons. So all melee weapons that are not a... let's say excellent or lower, keeping this breach axe intact. All of the melee weapons can be destroyed. Psychite refining is done, so finally we get to recon armor. That has been a while. And then over here, I will set up additional shelves for the material. So here I will say, oh, we have a solar flare. This will be Neutermine. And then this will be Yayo and Psychoid. Here, this could be Psychoid. So that's the collar for Slave 2. And then some backup clothing. We're actually overdue for a whole bunch of clothing. So for the... I don't have good leathers, do I? I'll have to get killing. Another thing I realized is I got packaged survival meals, and I'm going to queue those up. So this is for wealth production, because we have a lot of vegetables, we have a lot of meat. So it's just yet another way to make money. Well, Sven, let's get you switching your gun out. And then I think these elephants are going to be taken down so that we can make ourselves some nicer backup clothing. This is finally sort of taking form. A little bit more construction to be done. So this shelf here was Yayo, I believe. And a shield user has a ranged weapon. So here, I'm going to drop the shield belt. But I'll probably keep it in Sen's bedroom in case I want to swap. Our slaves are starving because they... Well, alright, that will be fixed. They previously did not have access to the nutrient paste. Because the power was out. And then, Bunny, it looks like you are no longer mining. So let's queue up a lot more steel, because we are going to go through steel very quickly, I suspect. All right, I would say it's about time to ice some elephants. We have the package survival meal queue on repeat up here, so that will be helpful to keep that supplied. It's the whole herd. I sort of expected the whole herd to come. It looks like they're chasing slave 1. Oh, now they're realizing that I'm the real target. And just like that, we are done. High quality weapons are amazing, aren't they? Perfect. All right, the floor here is also going to be steel. And then I am going to put granite barricades in front of all the holes except for the center one. The center one being the valid path into the base. I would also say at this point, hey, Slave 1, close this door. We're going to start to use the kill box as the valid path in. So over here in the drug lab, I am going to make yayo until I have, let's say, 26, and go juice until I have 8 or something. Let's make it divisible by the amount, so 24 and 8. And when we make this stuff, we'll just drop it on the floor. The goat juice is also very useful for my own colonists in case of battles and other needs that we we have combat, etc. Because we don't allow for most of the veggies to be stored in the freezer, I'm going to increase the size here. So this veggies is important. So let's haul the corn in so we can make these meals a little bit faster. I think the spot that JD's sitting on top of can't be accessed. Now, I had mentioned that I wanted to dye all of our clothing. I think I'll actually wait until I have everybody change their clothing around, because I'm about to get a whole bunch of elephant leather, so maybe we change our clothing. So these sleep body straps are also, I will make them out of cloth. So I have Trustin whip those up. The formal shirts and the formal vests require the elephant butchering, which I suppose I will have JD do. I'm going to change around the package survival meals. One of the things that I have to be careful of is that I don't have JD making the package survival meals at the cost of other priorities. And, hey, we have another Relic of Dominance quest offered. I know I didn't work on getting the complex set up, but I'll send Bunny to the village now, as soon as she's awake. It'll be very easy for her to hack it and leave before anyone knows what I did. So, Bunny, let's have you head out. Take a horse so you're a little bit faster. You're going to take meals and rice, some meds, and send. So we're working on the burn maze. It's another thing that I might want to store around here is the shelf of Molotovs, so that I can more easily set fires. And away you go. Should be there in 0.2 days. Very, very quick. So here's the clothing queue. Ooh, legendary. That's what I like to see. And I was waiting to dye our clothing until we made this clothing, because I figured we would swap. So here is the worshipful village worshiping this terminal. And this is going to be really easy to do, because I am basically just going to have myself go invisible, hack it, and leave. I could slaughter the whole village. Well, you know what? Bunny is a bit of a bloodlust. It wouldn't be terrible on our mood to get some kills in. As long as she does it safely. Yeah, now she's getting shot. Because if she collapses out on deployment, she kind of dies. So it's more risk than it's worth. Let's get going, because I'm getting shot. All right, Worshipful Village is done. She should be allowed to self-tend. Yeah, she can self-tend. So she'll come home, and I'll let her self-tend with the Glitter Orb meds. Just as a mea culpa for letting her get shot. Well, slowly but surely this is coming together. I also ought to close one of these doors to pick an actual side, but we're not quite ready to deploy it yet, so I'll wait until it's good to go. All right, there she is. All patched up and headed home. Now, another thing I might want to do, which I should have incorporated in the design, is set up doors. Maybe here is better. Doors like this, just so that I can gain access to repairing it more quickly. Because otherwise we're stuck sort of running around the maze ourselves, and that's less than ideal. So here's Bunny home with a little bit of information about that relic of dominance. Trustin trying his absolute best to try to get a masterwork formal vest out of the elephant leather. It's not happening. And this, my friends, is where this episode comes to a close. Thank you for tuning in to episode 49 of the Archotechs, Proper Defenses. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com or the description of this video have a link to Discord. If you're curious about my video release schedule or when I stream, Rhadamant.com also has that information for you as well, as does Discord. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons and Twitch subscribers who support the channel, and viewers like you that tune in and comment, like, and subscribe. I'll catch you next episode. Stay safe out there, fellow architects.